Hey, how's it going?
Man, it's been going. It's been a wild ride for myself. Not gonna lie. How's it been for yourself?
Good. I'm just had Chipotle and now I'm out for just going for a walk.
All right, so I've been listening to your music. Are you actually based out of North Carolina, or are you really from somewhere else?
I'm from Maryland, but I live in Charlotte, North Carolina,
Okay.
and I've been here like 12, 13 years now.
All right.
So it's definitely home base.
Introduce yourself. What you do. Your music, and yeah, how long you've been making music.
I'm Joshua Cotterino. I make I guess new wave music. It's kind of lo-fi,
For sure.
some of it. Um, yeah, I guess just new wave, kind of post-punk. Little psychedelic pop, I guess. But yeah.
And how long have you been making music?
Oh, I guess like seriously recording stuff, probably like probably like 12 years now.
All right, cool.
Since like 2010. I mean, I started playing drums when I was 14, and then slowly tried to learn like bass and some guitar and keys. But that was just like I had like a 4-track cassette player that I would just like jam with myself with that. But then um, I guess around 20, I was like, oh, I want to try and write songs. Started writing like I was really into Bob Dylan at the time, and I liked how like simple his songs were. So
Yeah,
actually, like when I
yeah.
first started, I was just trying to write like 3 chord, basically bad folk songs or something.
I've been also kind of influenced by Bob Dylan when in my younger years. My sister, she actually had a friend, a queer friend named Shayna, that went by Shane at the time, and they
Uh
gave
huh.
me like this really big poster of Bob Dylan, and it was like whenever he was holding the bass, recording.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that
Yeah,
picture.
and it was just so big and gigantic, and like I put that in my room like immediately, and like it hung up in my room like all throughout like my high school from like junior high to high school years. um and that's like I don't know, also,
Nice.
so kind of like how it kind of like went back to kind of like his music, and kind of seeing how, besides like his own involvement with like the Grateful Dead, just kind of depicting like how he could use like really simple words and stories, and also like chop that up in like syllables and give that like music and tone and like different life, for because you couldn't really do, I guess, so much crazy stuff whenever he was making those earlier records, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like I would used to be like super, super into him, and but he's one of those people for me where like at different stages in my life, like I when I first got into him, I really liked the folk stuff and like the first few electric albums, like Highway 61 and that stuff. But now it's like now I don't really like that album as much as I used to, just because like lyrically, it's just kind of like I can't really. It's like there's so much going on. Now I find I like his like simpler songs where it's just like because he's like a really good songwriter, like traditional songs as well as like kind of his like experimental phase. Like that stuff's cool too. But yeah, it's like right now it's like I don't like the stuff I used to like of his as much. Now I find I like some of his like older stuff. Even that country album is Nashville Skyline. Is
Yeah,
that it?
yeah.
Where like he sings like kind of a very like affected voice. I've been really liking that album lately. But
What's your favorite color?
favorite color? Hmm. I like I think I don't like solid colors as much. I like colors with like textures to them. Like I'd probably like I like gray a lot. Like a
Yeah.
gray cloud, that to me was like just one of the coolest things. Probably like one of my favorite colors. But I guess it's like it's not like a solid. I guess if we're talking solid colors, like probably black, I guess.
Word. Yeah.
But I like yeah, I'd say like a grayish pink textury kind of. That's probably my favorite color. I don't know why.
Um, astrological saying.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What's your astrological saying?
Aries.
And do you feel or follow Aries stuff much?
But feel. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? I'm like one.
Do
The
you
two. Two.
do you feel what they say about it, or do you follow it too much?
Oh, I guess certain things. I honestly don't follow it. Like I have friends that are like really in depth about it, but I'm not really super into it.
It's hard to keep up
But
with the good horoscope, I feel, and I now kind of have like a really funny idea. Whenever it was created, it was kind of created to generalize a lot of people, and I like the idea to some idea, like to some extent of like being radical
yeah,
about just like making everybody equal. And I also think it's really, really funny to not also think about how everybody is their own being per se.
yeah.
Um, I guess in this last project that you have up on Bandcamp, kind of run through your recording process. Like what
With
did your recording process? Did you um what did you start with? How did it happen?
yeah. So my last album, Death Cell, that this is like the first album I made where I kind of had a theme in mind, and so it kind of started like I had like I want to say like 4 or 5 songs that were kind of older that I didn't want to put on the album before because like I was like, oh, I want this to kind of be like a darker album. So I kind of like set them aside for. Dude, there's a couple songs on there that are like 6 or 7 years old. Um, and then so once I finished the album before that, I was like, all right, now I'm gonna do this like dark album. And then some of the in the process of like working on the other songs, I started writing a couple new ones. Um, and and then as far as like actual recording goes, some of it's like with tape. Um, Usually when I'll record to my computer, and then if it's a song that I want it to be on tape, just to get like the tape texture or whatever, I might run it to the tape machine. Um, and there's actually a few tracks on that album where I recorded it on my computer, but then I would record the vocals to tape so I could like pitch them down or pitch them up and then send it back to the computer. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it's not too different from stuff I did before. It's a lot of like I'll it's either like a melody or like a bass line that I'm like thinking of, and then or like a drum idea, and then I'm not like the greatest musician, so I usually just set a loop and try to get the stuff done for the verse, or like just keep just keep working on it until something sounds decent enough to be like in the recording, and then Usually I'll just like freestyle with vocals, also on loop, and
Every
then
track for that, even for like that 2020 record with the alien face, that one was all kind of like improvisational or improvisational.
uh, I mean, I wouldn't say it was like improvised, like,
Yeah,
but um,
there's some organics to it.
yeah. I mean, at that time I was recording a lot. I lately just with like work and stuff, I haven't been like sitting down every night and just like oh, I'm just gonna start recording and see what happens. Like if something cool comes up. But back then, that was like really like it's like all right, I'm just gonna sit down and see what happens. And then once it kind of becomes like oh, I've got like 3 or 4 different sections that kind of sound cool together. Then it's like, well, at least for me, the hardest part is like, oh, now I got to come up with lyrics. I already recorded like scratch vocals that I love how they sound, but like it's just gibberish. So that's always the worst part for me. It's
Uh,
like,
what I really like about this digital era is like for me personally, it's like oh if I'm not at home working on like on my Mac, working like on songs and stuff, like if I'm at work or if I'm doing stuff, and I still have my phone, I still have like my Garage Band and like I still use like Launchpad where I bought the shit out of it where you could just move your own little audio clips and add their clips and just like keep recording and affecting and like I just kind of love like no matter where you go you can still create music and I feel like
yeah,
in today's world you're getting a lot of that kind of more influence or shown or given more kind of like the light of day because before wasn't like necessarily seen as like I don't know, actually making music or something.
yeah,
And I don't know. I just feel like some bands now, like you hear how, like, hey, like, what did you do to record that? Like, oh, like, I just use Garage Band, and I just, just try to work something up, like recording the audio, or basically it's the voice memos, or you know what I mean.
yeah.
And I was wondering in this like project of yours, did you ever kind of go through that?
Well, I definitely, dude, I love voice memos. Like that, I feel like I come up with my best ideas when I'm at work, and it's like, oh man, if I could be home right now, this would be the sickest song. And then I'll make a voice memo, and then of course, like I get home from work and I'm exhausted. I'm just like, oh shit, like it's like, oh, that's a really good idea, but I'll have to save that for my next day off or something. Like, so now I have like thousands of voice memos. I recently like tried to start like putting like going back through them and like putting the ones that I really like into like a folder of like this is stuff I have to record kind of thing. Because it's honestly gotten to the point now where it's like there's so many I don't even know where to start. But yeah, I can't imagine like I guess back in the day people would just have one of those like cassette, like the Twin Peaks Diane recorder thing, like record thoughts you have or whatever. But I and I actually use GarageBand to record most of my music. Um,
Have
and
you
it's
ever
funny, like
given Logic a try?
what's that?
Have you ever given Logic a try?
Yeah, I got it. Like 5 or 6 years ago. I was like, all right, like it's like I think I want to like make a switch because a lot of my friends use Ableton and their music just sounds so much better than mine. Like,
I really
just seems
do.
like it's
I've worked with Ableton. I still use it somewhat, but also I do like a lot of what Ableton is able to provide for like if you're going to set up and record and also like once you record kind of actually nitpicking and getting down to the track and adding stuff. And also like the stuff that you can add on is really really cool because you can take that entire track and then like bring it back up or move it over to Logic and do let Logic do its magic too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you gotta find, and everybody does have their own different processes, but yeah, I
Yeah.
do think that there's some finesse with Ableton tracks that you do kind of find in like kind of popular music, and I think that's why some people take the alternative and you find stuff that you like in indie and like shoegaze music that was like, oh, we recorded that on Logic or Pro Tools,
Yeah.
like lot
Yeah.
of like Nine Inch Nails. Like I know they did like a lot of like weird Pro Tools stuff, and I'm like, wow, like you guys just kind of went for getting your sound and seeing what you can do with that.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you
I
have any
feel
favorite bands you got to shout out?
um favorite bands. Just like all time or like local, like more like um I'd say like Beach Boys, The Cure, um oh, what's that? Sorry, I think my reception's bad. What you said favorite album by The Cure? I think my all-time favorite is Faith. I think that's what their third album.
Yeah, mine personally too is it's gonna be Pornography.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do love that album, but as far as albums by The Cure, that's probably one of my least favorite.
To
There's
go to.
something on that album feels like really like kind of like rigid.
It's
Does that make
really
sense?
it's like to me it's like the deepest, darkest, and also like they like found a way to jam out these jams and also perfect having like long intros and like weird,
Yeah,
but then they switch it up and tie like what that magic was in that record to like adding that to like a more fancier pop or like um upper beat or like even like a longer like ballad kind of like rock songs that they have.
yeah.
I'm a really big fan of them. Have you seen their documentary that's kind of out there on YouTube?
No, I haven't. What's it called?
It's like The Cure and they're like live in France maybe documentary, and
Oh, okay.
it's like 2 3 hours long, and you kind of getting to see like everybody behind the scenes, working with the fans. I don't know, it's just one of those ones if you're a fan you're like, oh my goodness, this is prime time.
Oh man, I gotta see that.
What's your
That
favorite
sounds amazing.
instrument?
Favorite instrument? Um, Probably I'd s- uh probably bass, but I really
What do
like
you like about the bass?
I like well, I guess one that it's simple. That was like the first instrument I could play where it's like, oh, this is like a melodic instrument and it's like really easy. Like
I
instead of
think
having to
that's
play a
funny.
chord, you just hit one note, you know? Um,
Some people find doing treble clef a lot easier than bass notes and bass
hmm.
clef.
Yeah, I also that's kind of why I like keyboard too. Like I'm not great like at playing piano, but when you have like a synth, you can it's kind of the same thing as bass. You can just like hit one note or
I do like stretching one chord and seeing where you can kind of do like in the one chord range and also like use like the circle of the fifths to keep it like in the same like key. And
yeah,
that is one of those ones where it's like I find like really really nice and like traditional songs even today if they use like a little slight like in The Cure like a slight little bit of organ or like more like organic kind of piano amongst like the synthy droneness and the guitar
yeah,
effects and stuff. and I do love a lot about like the bass. It can bring warmth, depth, and also a lot of melodic movement to the tracks.
Yeah.
It can be missed, but it won't be missed in the Doors. Are you a fan of the Doors?
Oh yeah, I love the Doors. I've gotten into them more and more over like the past 5 years. I like I feel like for a while they were one of those like this was before I got into like classic rock. Um, but they were one of those bands where I was like, I don't really think I like them. Like, I thought they were kind of cheesy
You
or
didn't think
something.
you were gonna like it? Yeah, I was the same. I wasn't a
Yeah,
fan from the start, no lie. So I got exposed
dude,
early.
that's good.
Um,
I mean,
I'm a big fan of like Pink Floyd. Are you a fan of Pink Floyd?
I I really love their early stuff, like
Yeah,
the more like
Sid
the Sid
Barrett,
Barrett.
for sure.
Yeah,
It's the prime time for
um,
them.
yeah. Dude, Pompeii is really good too. Yeah. The I one of my
Okay,
favorite
wait, wait.
albums
This
by them.
is this is something that a lot of Pink Floyd fans don't know. They did a soundtrack for an entire surf film way back in the 70s. And it's actually a weird ass like soundtrack video thing, and majority of it you can only find on DVD or VHS.
Really? Dang, that's awesome. And it's for a surf. It's for a surf film, you said? Wow.
I
I
feel
gotta.
like
I
it's
hope it's
it's
on
perfect.
YouTube.
I don't think that too much of it is on YouTube is a thing because of like the
Dang.
copyrights. They want
Oh,
this to be like maybe with the cult status, the vibe. I want to bring up some stuff in your music. All right.
okay.
Your recording process. Are you starting with your drums? Are you starting with like a melody? You kind of did some weird stuff for No Food for Christmas thing. Kind of like get into a little bit about like your own space for that stuff.
Um, Usually with recording, most of the time I'll start with like a drum track, but I feel like a lot of the times it's just like a basic like kick snare, like just backing track. So I have like some kind of reference while I'm recording everything else. Um, and then usually after that it's like either keys or bass. Um, and then whichever one I did like, or vice versa after that.
Do you
And
actually
then
listen to vinyl? Do you are you a fan?
a vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like vinyl. I have like a really shitty vinyl player that like, which I like, but I don't have like a awesome like setup or anything. It's like these old like just like thrift store speakers that it's like wired up to. Um, but I do love vinyl. Just the fact that like you can play a song and it might not like sound the same. Like it might sound different every time you play it. Like just like in subtle ways, like the cracks and like the textures you get with vinyl. I think are awesome.
That's
But I
that's
guess I'm just
definitely
too
my
lazy
favorite
to.
part about kind of messing around is like vinyl player I've been messing with. It has like a broken like sound box, so like it makes everything kind of like sound distorted, or like
Nice.
no matter what, like I put a brand new needle in it and it doesn't even change like any kind of condition of how any like brand new record might sound. And to the extent now, I'm like, all right, that made like the new vintage sound, because before I was like really trying to look for like every vinyl to have like a more tape sound, and
Yeah.
somehow this vinyl player just is like broken and shitty, and it will like even skip on its own, and then just like choose moments to skip, and I'm like, are you sampling? Are you sampling right now for me? Should I start recording? Um, I got a funny question. So, if you were stranded on an island and you could only take one thing with you, what would you take?
Oh my god. Dude, maybe a guitar or something, like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah,
Because
mine
I would
is
want
my
something
iPod.
musical.
I think that you can't go wrong. Like if you were trapped on an island, you would have to like find a way to make a guitar if you
Yeah,
really didn't bring one. And I think that alone could be impossible. Like but at the same time, it can also be really impossible making fire and yada yada yada. So
yeah. I think I'd rather take my chances. Like, all right, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to like rub two sticks together and spark
yeah,
a fire.
I was thinking myself, damn, my iPod only has so much hours. So then I would have to think about playing like one song a day, and and then turning off my iPod, turning and then thinking about what song I want to hear that next day, and then turning on my iPod and then playing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You would have to be
that would be
very
so sad.
yeah, you'd have to be very, very wise about, I guess, how long you're going to be stranded on that island.
If it's like any of my electronics, it would die after like one day, just even without playing it or something. But who knows? Maybe I would like probably after like day five, and like use the guitar for firewood or something.
Are you a fan of Tom Hanks? Did you watch Castaway?
Uh, yeah, Tom Hanks is pretty good. I don't. His '80s movies were good. I thought.
His 80s movies and like his earlier work was the best work. His younger days,
Yeah,
I guess, gave us what bad industry wanted for America in that time period, I guess, too.
yeah. Yeah, I like Castaway. That's a pretty good movie.
Are you a fan of anime? You ever give like Naruto or anything a go?
I tried starting it. I couldn't. I don't know if it's just because I know there's so many seasons, but one of my best friends, he's like, oh, you gotta watch Naruto, and I liked it, but I just like it just didn't grab me to where I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever finish it. But
I think truthfully, if you weren't there from the start of it, then like you will never be there. And then if you happen to get there, then like you're also oh no, I'm like credit and power to you, because like I've watched it all because I grew up with it, and I think it is one of those ones where I'm like that one gets a slide for me because of just like its generational like I remember going to like the movie theater whenever the movie came out for the first time. And my parents like bought the ticket for me, and my sisters went, and
yeah,
they were not expecting for a bunch of just like random grown-ups and teenagers and young kids showing up to the movie theater dressed up and like as ninjas wearing their shit, you know what I mean? And like it was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
well,
That was whenever I looked at everybody and I was like, yeah, you see, this show is fucking awesome. Actually, they're just anime geek ass motherfuckers. Um, that's just
I
how
think
it goes.
my favorite anime is the first Dragon Ball, like not Dragon Ball Z, but
I've watched all of
the
Dragon Ball
first one.
too. You
Yeah.
gonna give what do you think about Dragon Ball Super? Have you given that a go?
I've never watched it.
This new one, this new era with like the gods and the Egyptian stuff, and the seeing the future crew. There's nostalgia to it because you're like, wow, you got to see Goku grow up as a kid, and have a
Yeah,
family and have all this shit going. But like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it might come to its end unless Japan is just like in for the next life form. Like maybe they have plans to just keep it going forever.
yeah, dude. One of the other things with anime, there's just so much of it now. Like sometimes I don't even know where to start
I
with
started.
like
I
all
I
the
think
new
I
shows.
started with like Yu-Gi-Oh, Lupin the Third, just like Pokemon for sure. Um,
Yeah.
do you have any favorite movies?
Um. Oh, dude. One of them is the first Ninja Turtles movie. I guess it's just called TMNT. The 1991. That's one of my favorites. The soundtrack is so good by
I definitely
John
grew up with
Duprez,
the
I think it
early
is.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles myself.
Yeah. Um. Oh, another Fallen Angels by Wong Kar Wai. That's one of my favorite movies. Just like the whole vibe of that movie is so good.
Have
Um.
you ever heard of Talk to Angels with Kevin Costner?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
It's one of those.
Is it?
It's one of those cheesy love stories, but it gets Costner fans crazy. It was around the Robin Hood era.
I'll have to check it out. What did you say? I'm sorry. Um. Oh, Legend. Have you ever seen that? Legend with I think it's Tom Hanks. It's one of his first
Yeah.
movies.
Um, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
movie is very trippy.
that's one of my like all-time favorites. It's I
Uh,
think it's Ridley Scott directed
yeah.
it, but it's
And
kind of like
what's crazy about that movie? I remember my like science teacher showing us that at school.
wow, that's awesome. That dude, that movie like the whole aesthetic of that movie like it inspires me like musically, just the visuals from that movie because like you see fake snow everywhere and like just bubbles and it's like it doesn't make sense. Like it's just like there's just so much going on, and like it kind of all looks fake, but at the same time, like it kind of does take you to this like different world. And
Yeah, it is incredible in that regard.
yeah, so like musically, like that movie, like just as like a piece of art,
Yes,
so
and like it is definitely probably one of the better Tom Cruise movies. Oh yeah, so are you at the beach?
no, going for a walk around the like around my apartment, but it's like the loudest night ever. I apologize. There's like
No, I mean
helicopters, like
I think it's kind of loud everywhere around. Everywhere I've been going, it's been the busiest it's ever been, and I've been hearing on the radio that men have felt the most comfortable to ever spend the most amount of money in the last couple months, especially on underwear. Have you bought any underwear recently?
I haven't.
I don't think I have
I'm,
either. And I was just like, where is this coming from? Why are people? Is this like? Is there a deal I need to know about? Is American Eagle on sale? Like the fuck?
dude, if there's a BOGO right now and we don't know about it, that's just sad.
It'd be terrible. Did you have any favorite directors? I know we mentioned Ridley Scott. He's definitely highly mentionable.
Um, I would say Ridley Scott. Oh, the Alien or Alien, the first one. That's one of my favorite movies. Um, Not so much anymore, but dude, for like my teenage years, I loved Gladiator, which I just probably like cliche like everybody else, but that was a good movie too. You got to. It's like a rite of passage.
Boy, did my family know whenever I watched Gladiator.
Um, Other favorite directors. Uh, Paul Verhoeven. I like pretty much all of his movies. He did like RoboCop, Starship Troopers. Uh,
Have you ever heard of the RoboCop, the novel, like the story of the true RoboCop?
no, is it good?
I've only read to a certain extent. I haven't read it all, but whenever I was younger, and I bought the PSP, the free movie it came with was RoboCop, and it turned me onto it.
Okay.
And I just gotta honestly shout out the fact that PSP or PlayStation, the fact that they were like, yeah, you buy PSP, we'll also shout out, you get RoboCop, and we'll give you Super Bad. It's like,
Hell yeah.
it's like, and the best of both worlds in a way, because it's like get trippy and then also learn about this crazy shit if you don't know about this movie yet.
One last one. John Carpenter. He's probably.
What would you say is your favorite John Carpenter film? I've been getting into it myself.
Um, I would say The Thing or Big Trouble in Little China. But I like all of them. I like all of them except for the vampire movie he made in like the 90s. I don't know.
The serpent and the rainbow thing. That's the one I've been like almost replaying, like trying to soak it in, and like really,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know, and I guess whenever Gary Wilson mentioned the Carnival of Souls, I was like, yeah, I really gotta get back into that one.
I can see that.
All right. So a random fact about yourself.
Random facts. Man, I feel like I should make something up. It's like really interesting. um,
Are you into BDSM?
no, I'm not opposed to it, but
Do you like funnel cakes?
dude, funnel cakes are so good.
Do you actually use Netflix or Hulu?
Um, I use Hulu way more.
Hulu,
Whatever, whatever streaming
Hulu.
service has King of the Hill
All
on
right,
it,
hold up,
I'm
hold up.
probably gonna
Coke
be
or
on that
Pepsi?
24/7.
Coke or Pepsi?
Uh, Coke, like hands down, 100%.
We're gonna throw out another kind of funny one. What's your favorite type of weed?
Um, like strain. Dude, I feel like for years I've just had to take whatever I could find. I will say I do like I do like indica more than sativa. Like sativa, I'm like kind of an anxious person, so like I'm like the guy with like everybody's like getting high. I'm like, oh, like I'm only gonna get like a little bit high, but I like to keep like a little buzz going, but I don't like getting like super high. So I usually like indica. But do you have a favorite strain? Like,
Lately, it's been ice cream. I've been like dipping into the ice cream factory. But those little runt cunts, those motherfuckers get me every time. I'll be repping on that one. Have you watched anything good lately?
Um, I'm watching. Uh, oh, I watched this Western show. It's called The English. It's pretty good. Like, I really like Westerns. Yeah, and I guess with this show, it's more of like it's stories of like some people from England who came over during like Wild West times. I don't think it's like based on like a true story. I guess it's more like general history. And there's a Native American who's a scout for the army, um, and so it's like a lot about like you see you see him like confronting like all of these like tribes, and like he's basically just like, oh, I'm just trying to survive. And while like the army's like doing all this horrible stuff to the Native Americans, and it's like, dude, it's so good. There's so much like nuance, and it's just so fucking good. But just this random show called The English, I'd never heard of it, and the music's really good too, like cinematography and all that. But what about you? I'm always looking for stuff to watch. Have you seen anything good lately?
No, you mentioned actually some pretty good stuff. I mean, besides like what Avatar 2, I mean,
Dude, I did see that.
yeah, like Avatar 2, I mean, half and half. Like, obviously, I feel like I enjoyed it because I spent the money. Got what I wanted out of the theater, and know what I mean. So it's like I'm gonna give the movie
Yeah,
some cred, but at the same time, like, yeah, was it all that great? And at the same time, I did sit down and watch it all the way through, and it's been this
yeah,
long. I think it's a little bit like Star Wars right now. It's like the fact that now all of a sudden James Cameron is like wanting to shoot back and back and back like the rest of the Avatar that we didn't get 10 years ago. But it's just like
yeah,
now at this time it's like you should have just did it 10 years ago because it would have gave you the more credibility or whatever. But I get it, you already made your billions of dollars. But now at the same time, like, it's going to move into, you have $1 billion industry that's going to make like 100 millions of like money or whatever, hundred of millions
yeah.
of views and stuff like in your stuff at the box office, and then like you're gonna see it decrease because like those movies maybe aren't that good. That's just, I don't want to project too much, but I am really
Yeah.
interested to see like if they're able to like honestly take it to the next level of like making it feel like a brand new Avatar. Cause I do remember whenever we first went to see like Avatar, me and my family, and just like thinking like, wow, like those special effects, that story, did not expect all of that from that preview or that trailer. And this time, I guess, you know what I mean? Like we're trying,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It's one of those ones. I want to see Knock at the Cabin. I haven't seen that one yet. Have you?
no, I thought it looked kind of. I'm like, I'm not the biggest M Night Shyamalan fan.
Well, like
I
I feel you on that one because like this new Severance show, I've been giving that a go, and like I dig that he produced and like he's not necessarily behind it, so it's like there is some good stuff behind that, but also you can see that they're trying to kind of hold up with this like anonymity of like what is actually happening, what's really going on, and that kind of stuff, you know.
yeah. I
But
did like what was
there's
that?
good impressionist, and there is some there. I like that the last M Night old movie, but yeah, this new one, I'm just like, is it like a horror film? Yeah, I mean, it's one of those pop culture things. I feel.
I do think it's funny that Batista's in it. It's
Yes,
like I guess he's doing. movies now. Like,
Yeah,
dude, I remember playing SmackDown vs. Raw.
he's getting
Just
any
like,
shot he
just
can.
hated Batista. Yeah.
But
I
yeah, for sure, cred to getting out some good artists. You happen to watch the new Doom Patrol with Brendan Fraser?
no, I haven't seen that.
That one that James Gunn did. He actually, got the old dude. Are you a fan of The Mummy? I feel like that one to me is like a classic. I think I make every girl watch The Mummy.
Yeah, that's a classic. I
Uh,
do like Brendan Fraser.
I say
Um,
every girl because I feel like every guy, any other like person, any person I've ever mentioned, like The Mummy, is like, yeah, I've watched that. I grew up on that. Like I've watched it a million times. But for some reason, it's like Star Wars. It's like it just skips a whole. Not to shout out or not to really hate on anybody that hasn't grown. I guess also for one thing, nobody really mentions the fact that Indiana Jones is coming back, and Indiana Jones is a cult classic hit.
yeah, man, I'm not a big Indiana Jones fan either.
I
I
think
always get like looks for that.
I
It's
think
like,
it's funny
what?
because that one is like one of those ones where you could play it at a party and you could have your drink and you could talk over it the entire time and you're like, it's fucking Harrison Ford doing crazy shit in the jungle. Like what do you like, like
I feel
what do you
like
want?
I feel like I feel like dads really love Indiana Jones.
It's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
And I
they saw Crystal Skull and they were like, oh,
Yeah,
it's like,
and it bring yeah. I want to say it brings me right back to the whole UFO thing. Do you think that we had UFOs in the sky, that they're trying to cover it up and say like, oh, it's just these balloons, and we don't really know what the balloons are, but
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I
Everyone is skeptical of like, no, they were UFOs, and now you're saying it was this, but it was this.
I I definitely believe it. Like, I just think like as big as the universe is, like there's got to be aliens, but I don't think any of that stuff. I'm kind of skeptical about. Like, I don't think aliens have been here, or it's like stuff flying around. I feel like it's all probably like military stuff that like. Yeah, I feel like a lot of it could even be like U.S. military stuff, but then it's like I don't know. I just assume it's all like, but I sometimes I think like, man, it would be so cool if like we were already in contact with it. Like that was just normal. Just like, oh yeah, we're in talks with aliens from whatever planet. Like, I'm a big Star Trek fan, so I really hope there are aliens. But yeah, I would think it kind of bums me out. Like some of the movies, like I'm really into sci-fi, but the sci-fi movies where I guess it's like a theme where like you finally meet the aliens and you realize like they're just humans, and it's like, oh man, like come on, like kind
I
of like a
grew
Planet of
up.
the Apes, kind of like
Yeah, that's a good one to shout out.
you know.
Did you actually like
But
Tim Burton's version of Planet of the Apes?
I like always thought for the longest time like I never even watched them because I thought they looked so bad.
What?
But then over the past year, one of my coworkers, anytime Planet of the Apes was on, like any like however many there are now, every time that one would be on, she'd like put it on the TV at my work, like Planet of the Apes, and she's like, "Oh, these movies are so good," and I was like, "Nah," but they are like they're decent. They're pretty good actually.
That's
I was
man.
wrong. I was wrong about them. They're pretty good. They're entertaining.
I want to see if there's a new one. Hold on, I gotta look up. Um,
There's
yeah,
got they there's got to be a new one coming out.
I really do hope because I also hold up to the the franchise of it, but allegedly they actually are working on a new Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I
and
did.
for some reason it does give it shitty amount of stars, and I just don't get it. Like they were just like, why are you bringing up the fact that apes are actually smart? I once took a bunch of acid, and I stayed over at my friend's house, and that he had like a bookshelf, and then it was so many books, and he was like, dude, just pick out a couple books to read, and like you'll have a good time. And one of the books I picked out was Ishmael, and reading Ishmael like right before you're getting up to, you know what I mean, like you're wait like you
Yeah.
took the acid, and then like you're trying to just like wait to get them to the drugs. So I'm just reading, trying to zone out, and like I'm reading Ishmael. And the story of Ishmael is that this gorilla is so sophisticated and trying to relay a message to American people using sign language, and
Oh, like Coco.
it's very, yeah, for sure. Exactly right. Exactly right. And I don't know, it's one of those ones where you're like, wait, he did that? So let's get back to some lore. In this Planet of the Apes thing, they just immediately come to Mark Wahlberg, and they were like, "Hey, you want to join? You want to do the Planet of the Apes?" And he was like, of course I do." After 5 minutes, and then of course he reads the script, and then he was just like, "Actually, I'ma drop out because I got Ocean's 11 to do."
Uh,
It was the worst mistake, because you just like got one of the, at that time, one of the hottest like actors, getting different roles, getting to play amongst like, Brad Pitt, Leo, George Clooney, and all that. But he also just got to
yeah.
do this random sci-fi like good film for Tim Burton. And then like I think he later on comes back to do another film. I'm not too solid on that, like with the Planet of the Apes franchise. It's either that or Tim Burton after that one just like flopped. He was just like, I fucking quit. Did you watch any of Wednesday?
Of Wednesday?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
That one, I think I would shout out and recommend, because like Wednesday,
Okay.
it gives like a new age feel, but at the same time you're giving cred to Jenna Ortega, kind of taking like this new character role and making it like a whole new kind of thing. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
even though some of the like dialogue and stuff is maybe like cheesy, what they kind of pack in with like Tim Burton lore is like what I guess like keeps you coming back.
Okay. What's your favorite Tim Burton movie?
Probably at this point in time, it's gonna be like Frankenweenie, or it's like probably around that stuff.
I
Like,
think mine is Edward Scissorhands.
yeah, Edward Scissorhands is really good, but like whenever I was younger, I definitely didn't think like that was like his best one. I was still like, I had like Nightmare Before Christmas on VHS, and was just like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
And then Corpse Bride, and I was just like, oh, Johnny Depp, like this one's got to have so much
Yeah.
lore, and like I don't know. So, but yeah, I do think with Tim Burton, there was the one that really stuck out to me. Also younger, of course. I feel like for other fans is Big Fish.
Oh, I think I've only seen that like once. I don't remember it actually. Like
Um,
what happens in it. I need to rewatch it.
Big Fish for me was one of those ones where I was just like, okay, like you're really taking the idea of like having a true life story, and like also bringing that to life with like the truth, and also like what you finesse in fantasy, because of like you got to give like the magic some cred, and of like
Yeah.
the magic behind of like, wow, he actually did do this and do that and do that, but like, yeah, he might have stretched this, but to the extent And like I don't know, there was some stuff in that I was just like, wow, like so relatable to. I feel like so much in the American dream of like you have this family, you know what I mean? Like he had a family,
Yeah.
and he tried to try and help so many other people, and also like do these other things, but maybe also like wasn't always viewed the same way by his own family. I don't know. There,
I should rewatch it.
I feel like in that one there was some stuff that Tim Burton packed in there that like he was like, okay, this is why I can now like just focus on like some other more weirder animated stuff, and then he gives us like that I don't know, bad vampire movie, Dark Shadows.
Oh yeah.
I guess bring up in your music process. Do you smoke weed? Do you like drink whenever you like jam in? Like, what's your first thing you get into? Do you like fire up the engines? You start playing on keyboard first, and then you're like, that sounds good. What's up?
Um. Yeah. I like smoking when I'm working on stuff, unless I'm like trying to finish a song and I'm like trying to like mix like or work on the like production. Um. Like at the very end. Um. Sometimes I like smoking when I'm like, man, I can't figure out how to get this song to sound how I want, like mixing wise. And then like that's usually really fun. Like make a duplicate save. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna get really high. I'm just gonna mess around with like a bunch of EQs and just see what happens. And then usually like something comes from that, just from not being paralyzed with fear that like if I change something that's gonna get worse or something. That's yeah, usually I don't drink as much lately, but definitely for a while, like yeah, smoking weed, drinking, just
I
to
feel like
like
all right. So for me, like whenever I was younger, I would take like a lot of acid, like a lot of acid, or like I would take shrooms or like make shroom tea, shroom coffee, and then I would just like start making music, and I would record it on CDs, on tapes, any way I could. Um, and
yeah.
like files would just stock up and stock up. Did you kind of come through like like a time period where you just have like a stockpile of music, and you're kind of like, do I break it down to an album? Do I just save the good stuff?
Yeah, I'm kind of I have like I have like almost like 200 songs that are like some of them are like kind of like a finished thing, but like some of them are like half done, like just ideas or like. But dude, I have like hundreds at this point, and usually like a couple make it like my next album I'm working on. There's a couple that are like 7, 8 years old. Like I have to go back in and replace the plugins because it's like stuff I don't even have on my computer anymore. But I do. I just yeah. I like at this point I'm just like, well, I've got it all on a hard drive. Like if something jumps out at me, then like maybe I'll finish it. But I guess right now it's like, man, in the back of my mind, I kind of just want to work on new stuff, and then if I never get to it, then I'm like, maybe in like 20 years, I'll just like put like 150 songs on like SoundCloud or something, like, or just make an album with like
Do you have
all
SoundCloud?
of the B sides on Bandcamp or something.
Are you on SoundCloud?
Yeah, I'm not super active on it anymore. I do have a profile. I
And
used to
no
like
more
back in the
music
day,
on
like
it?
go out and record a demo, and then I put it on SoundCloud so I could like send it to my like friends who make music. And,
Do you
but
still have the
no,
music on it?
oh, go ahead.
Do you still have the music out there on it?
Yeah, I think most of my albums on SoundCloud, and I think I might have a few demos on there still of like unreleased stuff. But I think a lot of them, I went on it like a year ago. I was like, oh damn, like I didn't realize I had all these like demos on there of like stuff I think I might want to release, and it was like just like embarrassingly unfinished. So I think I like hid a lot of the like unreleased stuff I had just because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I put this on the internet. But
Well,
I think there's
I
still a
mean
few.
to me like out of my like I have been making music for a while and like kind of like with friends, with bands, the side projects, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like now at this point like I'm just kind of like I'll just get this out there anytime I can, anytime I have time. Like if I put it out there, like yeah, I'd prefer to have a visual now. Like I now like
yeah,
I now feel like everything like maybe just like having the album cover isn't always just good enough. So that's just me. But
yeah,
so like and also like think of like oh like having the album cover and having visual behind that or like having the lyrics and stuff like you know what I mean? Because like I always see like the other effort and other kind of stuff where you're like oh yeah I do like that, I do like that idea, I do like you know what I mean? So
yeah,
in a lot of ways it's like okay I just want to keep on trying to see like what I can do, what can fit for me, and like if that has something behind that that other people are like watching and dig that, then like that's cool because I guess I hit the mark. But at the same time, like I was doing it to kind. I always see in the end game like I was doing it to kind of work for the art and work on what I was doing, not necessarily like oh I need to put this up because I want people to see this. I need people to see that
yeah,
I'm talented or you know what I mean. It's like
yeah,
in a lot of ways it's like this, for some people that are artists it's like that talent was there and that they've used that and they've kind of trying to still create their craft
yeah,
and your projects that you have out there you're kind of getting that because you're getting pieces of like okay at this point you were working on stuff that sounded like this and then you have stuff that
yeah,
sounds like I don't know the mixtures and the developments or the progressions in the songs. So like,
yeah, for sure.
did the lyrics ever come first, or was it something that happened like later?
Um, I have a few songs where the lyrics came first. I usually love when that happens because, like, to me, that's the hardest part for me.
Okay.
Um, so like, I love like, dude, like we were talking about earlier, like I'm in my car and it's like, oh, I'm just like just thinking of like a song idea,
Yeah.
and then if I already like have lyrics in mind, like I don't know, for me that just seems so much easier because it's like this is like the theme of it or like the vibe I want to have on it. So like, but honestly, usually I'm like lyrics are the very last thing. Like I'll even have like just like scratch vocal melodies and like I'm just like not even saying words, but like recording like vocal takes and then having to try to like find words that I like that fit to it is like so hard. I feel like I'm not very good at lyrics. So like usually it's the last thing, but I try not to get like too stuck in like, oh, I have to make it this way. Like I try to like be kind of open about it, like just like, and it's fun too. Like, oh, I'm gonna work on a song and just like start with X, Y, and Z and see what happens. But I'd say the majority of the time, I can never think of lyrics until like it's like that's the last thing that has to be done.
Also shout out like some of your other like favorite bands like today that you've been listening to that like you kind of get inspiration from, influenced by, inspired by in the past too. So go ahead and dive into that.
Okay. I wrote a list down because I got like a bunch of friends who make stuff that is really inspiring. Um, Hugo Presser, he has a band camp. It's called Hot Off the Press Records. Um, he doesn't like really promote his music much. It's like one of those like hidden gems, but his music is like so inspiring,
You
so
think he
good.
would be interested in Vibe Osmosis?
Uh, he may, yeah, he's a think he teaches like something to do with like cinema or something. He lives in Australia, so he's a big like film guy. But I can put you in touch for sure. I don't know. I don't know if he would do it, but I would love it if he would. Um, oh, Juan Carver. Uh, he's from Virginia. My friend Seth, is kind of like post-punk stuff, and then he has a electronic project that's called Hope Magnet. It's kind of like part gospel, part vaporwave, part soft rock kind of stuff. But yeah, check out Hope Magnet. Get stuff on Bandcamp. Alcove Dream, Stack Plastic, Sexy Dex and the Fresh. They're awesome. Um, oh, and I've got a single coming out that a collaboration I did with Devin Lynn, and she's got an album coming out. I think in like a month or two. But check out Devin Lynn. Her music is awesome.
Oh
Kind of like
yeah.
similar
Well,
like
well,
lo-fi stuff.
Devin was on Vibe, and
Oh hell yeah!
I am a fan, and I do look forward to kind of this collaboration that's cooking up with the chefs.
It's I think it's gonna be out in like a couple days.
Oh,
So
that's
by the
right.
time people hear
That's
this, it
right.
might be out on like Spotify and YouTube.
Are you also cool to link me with the songs that you want to feature for this show and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, totally.
All right. And like I guess go ahead and what songs would you recommend for me to play right after this interview at the top of your head? Cuz I write these down.
My music or like other people's music.
It can be well, no, not your music because I kind of already do my thing with your music. So other people's music.
Okay. I know we were talking about The Cure earlier. One of my favorite songs by The Cure is "Other Voices." That's one of my favorite songs. Um, okay. Um, well, another song I've been really into is it's called "Tears of a Star" by Super Heroines. That's a really good one. Um, how about some "Crocodile Rock" by Elton John? That's one of my favorite songs. Hell yeah, dude! That's the first song I ever remember hearing. Like my first memory of hearing music that like I can remember. My uncle, he had this Big Bird like Sesame Street vinyl player down in my grandma's basement, and one of my like aunts or uncles had a just like a single vinyl, and on one side was Crocodile Rock, the other side was Rockin' Robin. And I remember like just like hitting the Big Bird like says something like every time you move the needle, like, like playing Crocodile Rock, being like 4 years old, like, oh, this is cool. What is this? And then you play it again, and Big Bird says like phrase, and then Crocodile Rock starts playing. Um, dude, Rockadoodle with Chanticleer, Chanticleer, Chanticleer.
That he's like
Dude, that's kind of a
my uncle
scary movie.
Dookie. He's like my uncle Dookie. Every time it's like, oh my gosh, he said Dookie.
Dude, I remember like I loved that movie as a kid, but it was one of those ones that's kind of scary. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so other bands and other songs that you would like me to play.
Um, uh, Double Heart by Robert Rental. Um, what else? I'm trying to think of like cool stuff. But, like, um, Animation by Cabaret Voltaire. That's one of my favorite songs. Love Cabaret Voltaire. Um, Two People in a Room by Wire. I feel like it's all kind of post punk. I need to. Uh,
Well, I did my own little mix and did my own little thing.
okay.
So, I guess also before we go, what kind of advice that you would give? How old are you, and what kind of advice that you'd give to like other artists that are like into what you do and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
That real fan shit, man.
Well, I'm gonna be 33 next month. Um, I would say, I don't know. You just gotta stick with it. Um, just like keep working on stuff. Make sure it's like stuff that you enjoy, like stuff that you want to hear, or else like you'll just get bored with it. Like, and I'd say for myself, what I would put like what somebody told me is like it's okay to like take breaks from working on stuff. Because for years I would just like keep working on stuff. I got so burnt out, but I was I think that's why I smoke a lot of weed and like drink while I'm working on music because like I definitely hit points for sure where it's not fun like making it. Um, and but then but it is something that like I'm so passionate about, and I do like want to keep doing. But I would always feel bad when I like oh I'm not gonna work on music for a month and just like have fun and like hang out and go do stuff like uh,
What I think it is too, personally, it's always like I was comfortable working on music like in this one setup, but now I'm looking to kind of have a different setup where it's actually giving me what I'm looking for. Uh,
yeah,
that
and
is
that's like the thing too.
that always helps. I feel like whenever I'm kind of on the same thing as like I really enjoyed getting into that space and like recording myself like just like screaming and like making noise and like plugging up everything. But then I love just taking all those recordings and going back to my apartment and like just like mixing, messing with the audio and like trying to chop up like my idea of what an album could sound like. And also I can see how like I got burned out like just like sitting in my apartment all the time trying to like is it sounding good today?
Yeah, I think another thing, one thing that helps me is going out to like local shows, hearing what other people are working on.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. It's get
I
involved
mean,
with your community for sure.
yeah, like even if like I go out to a show and it's like three bands of like stuff, I'm like, oh, this is awful. This is like so bad. Like, even like stuff like that, you can find like inspiration from anything. So and it's stuff like you won't hear online usually. So like that's like going out and like physically being around like musicians is like great too. But I think the biggest thing is just sticking with it. I think.
Okay. So you're getting a little debris now. What are your current projects that you're working on? Do you have any current projects that are coming out? And are you playing any shows? Do you have any shows lined up for yourself?
Um, so I mentioned earlier I have the single coming out with Devin Wynn in a couple days, and then after that I have a new album that I'm hoping it'll be done in probably like 2 or 3 months. I'd say it's like 80% done. Um, I'm like super excited. I feel like it's the first album that actually sounds like what I've been the kind of music I've been trying to make for like since I started. And just back to the theme of like sticking with it, like I feel like I'm like finally have an album that like I've been trying to do. But I don't know that it'll be good, but I'm super excited about it. So that should be out in a few months. Um, and
I always
then
want to say, like, remind yourself of like the bands that we really love and appreciate, even like as far as back to like the Velvet Underground before anybody knew who they were, and that kind of stuff. It's like, don't worry about what the social media, what the kind of stuff is feeding. It's like always like getting into that space to like work on like what your art is, what you're
yeah,
connected with, what you want to do. And then like once you shape all that stuff up and you have an idea like, oh, I want, you know what I mean, it's like that's what I feel like whenever you feel more comfortable about like sharing and doing stuff, because like that's what you put your time and effort into, other than just like it not necessarily being like more truthful to yourself, I guess, in some regard for people.
yeah, for sure. And like for me, like it's definitely helped me. Like I think right now I'm like the most excited about recording and making music as I've been in probably like 4 or 5 years. I feel like, and I think a lot of it is like, at least with this album, it's like it's uh for better or worse, like it's just an album of like stuff that like I really like, and so hopefully other people like it. But yeah, it's been a lot more freeing, a lot more inspiring to just feel like, nah, I'm just. I guess some of it too is just after making music for so long, I'm just like, I just have to make what I like if I want to keep making music,
And
and it's
also,
like freeing.
before we go, do you have a favorite song by Bob Dylan?
Favorite song by Bob Dylan. Let me think about this for a second.
I'm staring at a Bob Dylan revisited graphic interpretations of Bob Dylan's songs, a graphic novel thing. Like my parents gave this to me whenever I was younger, like way like as a kid, and it just like, you know, like as a gift because I was into Bob Dylan, and it has like all like a really good amount of like artists that did different kinds of pictures and artists like different kinds of like art for like kind of like his poems, songs,
Yeah,
and also like stories that he wrote. So it's like some of them kind of will go into depth about like the exact lyrics and like trying to paint and draw that picture out and like really give you an idea. It's like in a way,
dang, that sounds cool.
it's a really good graphic novel thing, but it also gives you a really good idea about like the images maybe that Bob Dylan was having in his head whenever he wrote that. And there's not a whole lot of artists and stuff that get that kind of like, okay, they wrote this
Yeah,
song and they wrote this about this, and they, you know, you don't really get to get the full picture of like always like maybe like what every song in the album and stuff like that's gonna be, or like
yeah.
that's kind of why I wondered like if you had like a favorite song you'd wanted to shout out.
I think the album I've been listening to lately is Another Side of Bob Dylan, and I think what I've been stuck on lately. I have so many favorites, but All I Really Want to Do. That's probably been my favorite lately.
That's a really good one.
But I mean, also on that album, My Back Pages, like, dude, the older I get, the more that song is just like, damn, that's such a good song. And like, but yeah, I'd say Another Side of Bob Dylan. Oh, It Ain't Me, Babe. That's on there too. But lately, All I Really Want to Do. That's been my favorite lately. I like how, especially, I feel like it's becoming more relevant. Like now with like social media and just like being online and stuff. Like the, I like his lyric in that song that like he's like, I don't want to categorize you or like put you
Yes,
in a box or
I
like,
know he's got some really good
yeah,
messages in this one. It's a great recommendation, and we'll let the music speak on that one for sure.
Yeah.
I want to just go back to you for 1 second. You have to share one good memory that you would like to share for the show before we go.
Good memory. Um, oh, kind of on topic, seeing The Cure live. It was probably 4 or 5, yeah, maybe like 6 years ago now, but they played at a amphitheater in Charlotte.
You're a
Dude, they
touched
played for
artist.
3.5 hours. They did like, I want to say like 4 encores. And but the best memory, I was there with my little sister. I kind of drugged her along because she was in town visiting me. But the first song they played was "Pictures of You," and like just standing there on the lawn because it was outside and hearing like the chimes start, like the drummers like hitting the chimes,
That's so
and then they
nice.
start playing "Pictures of You," and dude, I was like, I had like tears coming down. I was like, I can't believe I'm seeing The Cure. Like,
Yeah.
they sound just like the album. Like, that's like one of my favorite memories. It was just like amazing. But
Well,
yeah,
all right. So thank you for joining Vibe Osmosis. It's been a pleasure. And also, I'd really like you to send me the music that you like of yours that you'd like for the cast.
okay,
And like also like any kind of links and information that I'd also kind of like put in there, that kind of stuff.
okay, cool.
Um, and you say you didn't have a show lined up for this year yet, or you do?
Oh, I do have a show. It is March. It's Wednesday, March 15th at Snug Harbor.
Good
It's like
date.
hands down the best venue in Charlotte. But I'm playing with Zodiac Lovers, really good Charlotte group, and then my friend Zach Plastic is coming down from Norfolk, Virginia.
Well,
But yeah,
that's kind of wild and interesting that you're down there in North Carolina, because like I've been there a few times because my dad was like a little NBA rep.
uh huh.
Uh, for
Oh, that's awesome.
for like the Bobcat Charlotte Bobcats.
Bobcats.
Whenever that was the thing, I know they changed like the Hornets or something now since
Yeah.
Michael Jordan kind of, I guess, maybe spoke up about like not liking Bobcats or something. He was like, "Fuck Ohio." I don't know.
Dude,
Um,
the Bobcats, those were some sad years of basketball.
I guess they were
Those teams
sad.
were so
They were
bad.
sad years, but at the same time, my dad was just like repping it in with any NBA player that was, I guess, having bad years over there. I didn't know
Oh,
too
okay.
much besides like sitting down at the games, but also like, kind of taking in the culture and get, you know what I mean, coming out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's also some things about like NBA games where it's like if you get wild enough, you never know what happens. You know, the game will get people crazy.
Dude,
Uh,
their games, I love going to Hornets games. It's really fun when they're
are
good.
you a fan of any sports? I'm just wondering.
I'm a huge football fan. My team is the Jaguars. They're just like the team I picked when I was like 8,
That's what
and I
I'm
stuck
talking
with them.
about.
And dude, they're finally good again. It's been
Yeah,
so long.
yeah.
And then I'm a
So it's nice to see when they come back from a long couple seasons.
yeah, dude. So much heartbreak and disappointment. It's all worth it now. And then I'm a big Orioles fan too. That's the one hometown team.
Yeah.
I've grown up in Maryland, and they're getting good again too. So I'm having good sports days lately.
Also, so
That's
like,
nice.
what brought you to the North Carolina area, and like, what is the music scene like out there for you right now?
It's So I grew up in like a small like white trash town in Maryland, Tawny Town, and there's just nothing to do there. So like I had a few friends who lived in Charlotte. So like once I graduated, I was like, yeah, I want to move. So it's like a smaller city. I mean, it's getting bigger now, but yeah, I was like, I want to move. So I moved down here, and it's like it's okay here, but to your other question, the music scene is like pretty decent locally. So I mean, that's kind of what's kept me here, just like making friends here, uh, like getting involved with the music scene, and
What I
especially
wanna
like
I wanna tell
we get a
you
lot
right
of like
now.
good bands that come through. So
They do get
it's
good
not that bad.
bands. They do get good bands out there in Charlotte and the Carolina areas in general. Also, how do you feel about the whole bathroom thing? Are you cool with everybody having like a fucking neutral bathroom? Like it doesn't fucking matter or what?
Yeah, like
What's
dude,
up?
that's just so crazy, man. It's like, yeah,
They've been fighting it for years, and I'm on the same page because, like, if you got to New York, if you got to Seattle, if you got to Chicago, they have like even a
yeah,
sign where it says like either gender neutral or they don't give a shit. They just say it's the fucking bathroom. I'm like, oh yeah, if you
yeah,
want to go out to India, if you want to go out to like the real city, like up in New York, and maybe you're sharing like a bathroom between
yeah,
like other people that are in your apartment where you're having to go out and like actually like share your bathroom, like you don't fucking care. It's just like I wanna know why they just decided to get all discrimination again on that whole thing, because
yeah.
it's just like, oh, you want to pull this card, but like you guys got some crazy rent prices.
I'm convinced, I'm convinced most people don't care. I think it's just like it becomes like a talking point, and then people are like, "Oh, now that I think about it, like, yeah." It's like, no, I
Now
don't
that I
want
think
that.
about
It's
it,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't.
I don't. I know for me, I get in the bathroom. I'm trying to get in and get out as quick as possible. Like, I do
At
like,
the
dude.
same time
You know what I would like is if,
in public spaces, just nobody should have like this regard or like of where you should be. And my perspective is just like, yeah, if you gotta go, you gotta go.
yeah, yeah. My view is, as long as there's a bathroom for me to use, I'm good with that.
Have you are you a fan of South Park right now? I'm just wondering.
South, the show.
Yeah.
I dude, I used to watch it a lot. I haven't watched it lately.
Oh
Um,
man,
but
this new season with the Cupid Yee, and we're get the last night's episode. My goodness, they just keep on tapping into the market of like, yeah, we know who these people are. We kind of know about what you're talking about, and we kind of also see the relevancy in like other subcategories, like our actual like phones, our security, like what we see on TV, who controls what, and with like I don't know if you haven't heard about the newer episode with like them kind of talking about Kanye. It's like, yeah, when Kanye wasn't on his meds, we get this other version of Kanye, but whenever Kanye back like was back on the meds, he was like, I'm a good Christian again. I'm gonna do Christian stuff. It's just it's hilarious, and at the same time you're like, I guess this is what it's come to whenever like letting small like bad stuff slide. Like we're still saying, that's gay, that's cray, you know what I mean? Like, and
yeah,
or we're still saying like the fuck you bitch, and the whole like shit, fuck, faggot, and all that kind of stuff on South Park, where you're just like, wow, like, yeah, I mean, like, they are kind of pushing the boundary, even saying, Jew, bringing up, he says, like, Hitler was a good guy. And, like, I'm color. Like, I'm my dad, like, my mom and dad are they're like a mixed couple. So I was like, I'm over here, like a, you know what I mean? Like a, and I think about it, like, it's hilarious for me to kind of see, like, anybody's side or take, because I'm like, you don't even know.
yeah,
And in a way, I kind of get it because, oh, that's me on my end. In a way, I can kind of get it because, as like right as a mixed person, or whatever, like these guys have been making this show for generations, and they are
yeah,
still writing their own shows, their own material. And
yeah,
I look at it as artistry and artifact, because like you see bands that like have changed out so many different people, but like, did they always continue to write their own music or record their own stuff or put it out in a certain way? You know what I mean?
yeah.
I like. Are you a fan of the Strokes?
Uh, I like their music, but I don't like listen to it a ton. But
Their
they have some great songs.
their last record with Rick Rubin, I feel like is the one that opens up the door for them to kind of show the fact that they are actually a generational rock band that has done it from point A to now, and also have like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, kind of interchangeable parts, even if it's mixed and produced by this person and done by this, you know what I mean, and in a way,
yeah,
like they do a really good job at showing like the industry kind of like held us as these pawns. And I also think for a really good example too is like when Tame Impala came into the certain point where they were like, okay, do you want to continue writing, these pop songs? And he was like, I'd love to write, pop pop songs, Kevin. And like I'd like to, continue this journey. And I wondered, to me, is like, it doesn't matter if you're kind of putting yourself out there and like like finding your avenue whenever it comes to making music. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
With Grateful Dead, it's like they found a way to kind of tap into whenever anybody came to the show, they knew that they could have a good time or a good vibe or be open to, an experience.
Yeah, dude, it seems like it would have been awesome to see them. Like, I would have loved to see them like late '80s, I think, mid '80s.
Yeah, they got some
Would be,
they got some prime time eras. Also before we go, man. Is there anybody that you want to shout out? Anything that you want to kind of mention on the show before it's gone?
um, no, I think I got all my shout outs in.
All
All
right,
my
all right.
but dude, thank you so much for having me on, Jeffrey.
Oh, of
It's been
course.
it was fun
Uh,
talking. I love nerding out about like music, movies. It's just so fun to talk about.
Oh, to me, it's like I'm endless because I'm consistently like feeding myself in a way.
Hell yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Like my way is like if you quit your job and you start just like working on nothing but art and media and stuff, you kind of figure out like, okay, this is the kind of stuff like I'm interested, and this is the kind of music like I need like during these different times, and like and then like to me it's like I started looking into like what I appreciate and listening to new music and giving out like, I feel like the kind of stuff you need to know, like your people that you're listening to as well, like what do they listen to. So I don't know. This is why
Yeah,
I wanted to bring you on Vibe Osmosis, because I checked out your music and you have a lot of different kind of stuff there. I'm like, I wonder what you're up to.
hell yeah.
All
Well, dude,
right,
yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
all right. So I hope it's been a good rest of your night, and thank you for joining Vibe Osmosis. It's been rocking, and we'll keep in touch. You got to send me some links.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you some stuff for sure. All right, you too, Jeffrey. See ya.